Hi, my name's Jim Bywater. I'm presenting this work at the AI in Education Conference 2023 in Tokyo. This poster presents some work that me and some colleagues have done to classify mathematics teacher questions. Now, in a variety of emerging technologies, there's a need to be able to provide pre-service and in-service teachers with feedback on how well they are asking questions of students, questions that can promote mathematical discourse, that probe and explore student understanding, rather than just telling students information. So this work is based around the question: how accurately are we able to classify the questions that teachers ask so that we can provide that automated feedback? It builds off of classifications that have been developed within math ed literature, and particularly classifications used by the IQA measure, which is used to provide validated feedback to teachers about their questioning practice. Specifically, the question classifications that we use in this work are probing and exploring, which are questions that seek to clarify or explore or inquire more about how students are thinking, versus procedural questions, which maybe asks about math facts or what's the next step in a pre-assigned algorithm, versus expository questions, which is really presenting information to students. It may be presented as a question, it may be presented like a rhetorical question, or it may just be the teacher telling the student something, and then obviously some other questions that are not particularly mathematical. How is your day, for example? The data set that we used here was a relatively small data set. It was collected during authentic classroom setting. The questions were labeled by 4 different annotators using 2 different techniques. One, classical labeling, where the annotators would look at the questions and just classify it. Another, which we found to be much faster, was weak supervision, where the annotators were given suggestions based on a prior model and asked to correct the suggestion. The analysis was done with 4 different BERT-based models, as you can see here: BERT, Roberta, DeBerta, and Distilbert. We used a 70-30 train test split and reported the accuracy from these models. We basically found that most of the BERT models that we've got here are the same, the Roberta being slightly more accurate. The procedural questions had a higher classification accuracy than expository or the probing and exploring questions, which we felt kind of made sense because they're much more straightforward questions typically. Based on the confusion matrices that we have here in purple and yellow and green, the most common confusion was between probing and exploring questions and procedural questions. So that was where the classifiers struggled the most. At the same time, the accuracies that we're reporting here is better than many of the other classifications of teacher utterances, whether that's teacher questions, teacher utterances more broadly, that have been out there. And those are those are models, classification models that have been trained on much larger data sets, like 10,000, 20,000 plus. So we think that this is very valuable. It can be accessed through Hugging Face. You can test out the classifier there. There's an API access if need be there at the link shown. We think that this will be really useful for a variety of emerging technologies, especially for those people working on developing teaching simulators, where teachers get to practice asking questions to students, and they can be then provided with automated feedback about their conversation right after. Obviously, there's a couple of limitations to this work that are listed here. The references for the citations are in the conference proceeding document, and we thank the Robinson Family Foundation for their support of this work. Thanks.